अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैं आमने एजुकेशन में Rehan कोचिंग नंबर कैंपस की स्टूडेंट हूँ एंड हमारा टॉपिक है कौन माया द आर्ट ऑफ स्टोरी टेलिंग हाउ टू captivate and inspire others.
Walaikum assalam. That sounds like a beautiful goal. What's the biggest thing you're hoping to spark in your students right now?
What is storytelling and why is it important in our daily life?
At its core, storytelling is just the art of taking a raw experience and giving it a shape. It's how we make sense of the chaos of life by connecting the dots between what happened and why it actually matters in our daily lives. It's the bridge that lets another person truly feel what you felt rather than just hearing a list of facts. I'm curious, do you use stories when you're teaching your students?
Why do stories attract people attention more than fact alone?
Because facts speak to the mind, but stories speak to the heart. Facts are like the ingredients on a recipe card. They're useful, but they aren't the meal. A story gives those facts a reason to exist, creating an emotional hook that makes us actually care about the outcome. It's the difference between being told that a city was destroyed in a fire and hearing about one person's struggle to save their favorite book from the flames. One is a statistic, the other is a memory. Do you think your students respond better when you frame a lesson as a journey rather than a lecture? I'll keep it rolling then. Since you're all about captivating and inspiring your students, have you ever tried using a cliffhanger in your lessons? It's a classic storytelling trick to keep them leaning in.
What are the qualities of a good storyteller?
The best storytellers aren't necessarily the ones with the most dramatic tales, but the ones who know how to make you feel something. Curiosity is huge. They're the ones who notice the small, weird details that everyone else misses. Then there's pacing, knowing when to speed up and when to let a moment breathe so the tension actually lands. Maybe most importantly, authenticity. Authenticity. People can tell when someone is just performing, but they lean in when they feel the storyteller is being honest with them. Which of those feels like the biggest challenge when you're standing in front of your students?
Why do people remember stories for a long time?
It's all about how our brains are wired. Stories create an emotional imprint that facts just can't touch. When you hear a story, your brain isn't just processing data, it's simulating the experience, which makes it feel like a memory of your own. That's why you can forget a date in a history book, but still remember a story your grandparent told you years ago. I wonder if there's a specific story from your childhood that's still vivid for you.
What are the key elements of a powerful story?
You've got to have a core conflict, the friction that makes us want to know what happens next. Then there's a relatable character, someone we can actually see ourselves in. And of course, a transformation. The story has to lead somewhere, leaving the character or the listener different than they were at the start. Without that shift, it's just a sequence of events. Which of those elements do you think is the hardest to nail down when you're crafting a story for a class?
Why is it important to know your audience before telling a story?
Because a story is a conversation, not a monologue. If you don't know who's listening, you're just guessing which parts will resonate and which will fly right over their heads. It's about choosing the right language, the right references, and the right emotional hooks to make them feel like the story was written specifically for them. If you're talking to a room of 10-year-olds, the stakes look very different than when you're talking to PhD students. Do you find that you have to completely change your approach depending on which group of students you're with?
What is
You're very welcome.
what is the
40?
difference between telling a story and simply giving information?
The biggest difference is the intent. Giving information is about transferring data. It's efficient and direct, but it's often forgettable. Telling a story is about transferring an experience. When you give information, you're handing someone a map. When you tell a story, you're actually taking them on the walk. One satisfies the brain, but the other captures the imagination. Does that make sense in the context of how you're planning your lessons?
How can storytelling build trust and a stronger relationship?
It's because storytelling is a form of vulnerability. When you share a story, especially one where you've messed up or struggled, you're showing people that you're human. It breaks down that wall of expert versus student and exactly trust. It makes the other person feel safe to be open to because they realize they're not the only ones navigating the messiness of learning. Do you feel like being a bit more open with your students has changed how they interact with you?
How can we
That's
make
fair.
a story simple and easy to understand?
It's not about stripping away the detail, but about finding the right ones. Focus on one clear emotional core, one main point you want them to take away. If you add too many side plots or characters, the listener starts to lose the thread. It's also about using concrete images instead of abstract concepts. It's way easier to picture a cold, rainy Tuesday than an unpleasant atmosphere. Do you usually tend to over explain things when you're excited about a topic?
Can a short story be as powerful as a long story? Why?
Absolutely. Sometimes a single sharp image or a quick anecdote can hit harder than a whole novel because it doesn't give the listener time to wander. It's all about the impact, not the clock. Do you prefer the quick, punchy stories, or do you like to let a narrative really unfold?
What type of stories inspire you the most?
I'm drawn to stories about the underdogs, the ones where someone is completely outmatched by their circumstances but finds a way to push through anyway. There's something about that kind of resilience that feels real and motivating. I also love narratives that take a mundane, everyday moment and reveal something profound about being human. Do you have a specific type of story that always gets you fired up?
What is one lesson you learned today about the art of storytelling?
If I had to pick one, it's that storytelling isn't about the plot, it's about the connection. It's the realization that you can have the most exciting sequence of events in the world, but if the listener doesn't feel the emotional weight of it, it's just noise. The magic happens in the space between the storyteller and the audience. Do you feel like you've found a way to create that connection with your students?
Can storytelling be used on social media? How?
Oh, definitely. It's practically the engine that drives the most successful platforms. Instead of just posting a tip of the day, you share the story of a mistake you made and what it actually taught you. That transforms a lecture into a lesson they can actually relate to. You could use micro storytelling with short videos or threads that build tension and lead to a payoff. Since you're working on building your personal brand, do you think you'd be more comfortable sharing the behind the scenes messiness or the polished final result?